Ian, speaking of Obama and Syria and the Red Line, it happens also to be the end of the 8 years of the Obama administration.
Yeah.
Since this is Carnegie Council for Ethics in International Affairs, let's talk about Obama's moral legacy. How do you assess his legacy from an ethical lens? I mean, think about human rights, think about international norms. On the whole, is it a positive? Is it negative? Is it neutral? How do you look at that?
I think it's a failure. And I hate to say that because Obama has held himself to a very high ethical standard, professionally and personally, with his family, with his business friends and colleagues. We've had virtually no scandals of any sort or conflicts of interest under Obama. I mean, the IRS scandal is probably the biggest one in Ohio that he clearly wasn't aware of himself. We see a president that cares deeply about the way people are treated, that cares deeply about trying to create more equality and diversity and harmony in the United States and globally.
Sure.
And yet, if you take a dispassionate view of the United States that his legacy leaves, as well as the world that his legacy leaves, what you see is a much more fractured world. What you see is a foreign policy that is largely in tatters, where the United States is not only weaker, our alliances are more challenged, and most of his foreign policies leave a failed legacy.
So this failed legacy has contributed to the geopolitical recession that your report talks about?
I think that there are many structural factors that lead to the geopolitical recession. One is the Trump election, which Obama has some responsibility for, but certainly not most of it. One is the rise of China. One is the willingness of Putin to undermine Obama directly and the United States more broadly. One is the weakness of Europe. One is the implosion of the Middle East.
Yeah.
But clearly, Obama has contributed to that geopolitical recession. I mean, you and I have talked in the past about how I believed that his principal positive foreign policy legacy was going to be the pivot to Asia and the successful conclusion of a major multilateral trade deal, the biggest in decades, 40% of the global economy, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. He failed. He failed. And that has done lasting damage to the ability of the American allies across Asia and to a degree in Latin America to look to the United States and say that you can count on this country. And I can say that with allies around the world before Trump was elected. And that's, again, it's a true sadness because Obama is analytically so sharp, and yet he's not much of a leader. And that has gotten him in massive trouble. The Russians have run rings around him. This is the world's 14th largest economy, smaller than Canada. How could that happen? The idea that the Russians could engage in systematic hacks to delegitimize the US election, and Obama did nothing because he didn't want to be seen as partisan. I mean, I'm sorry, but...
too polite?
Maybe too polite and too political, but the fact is, if you are a leader of the free world and you are a head of state, I am sorry, but American national security comes a little bit before the perception of you being partisan on behalf of Hillary Clinton. And this was a massive failure. And this is, I think, completely on the president. Again, someone I personally respect and admire a great deal, and yet ultimately just didn't get it done.